Everyone is aware of this to November 19th, 2026, which has already likely put the entire games industry into utter disarray as publishers now need to figure out their fall plans next year, knowing that GTA will absolutely eclipse anything around it. I now wonder if even Activision will release a new Call of Duty next year, because GTA 6 will now technically be sitting in their usual release window. The whole thing is a mess, and you're also probably noticing how terrified the games industry is of Grand Theft Auto 6 finally coming out. But one website thinks that the hype is for naught, that GTA 6 is actually a tired relic that is already outdated long before it even releases. And they believe that Grand Theft Auto 6's hype is manufactured and that the game should not be praised or anticipated at all. Rather, the hype behind GTA 6 is wrong, and Rockstar is, according to them, benefiting from a news cycle they don't deserve over other games. This is the article from Eurogamer I am referencing. GTA 6 runs the risk of being totally outdated by the time it finally arrives, or does it? The writer of this piece, Chris Tapsell, opens his argument with this at the end of the first paragraph. What if GTA 6, coming at least 13 years after GTA 5, has taken so long to make that it's actually been left behind by the genre this series helped to define? What if it's so late, it's just plain outdated? It's an interesting idea to push forward here, that whether if a game has been in development for so long that it truly can even feel fresh once it actually releases. I mean, I get the trepidation. It makes sense to a point. If you think about it, GTA 6 has been in development since before concepts like even Battle Royale or hero shooters even really existed like they do now in modern games. It was in production before the Sweet Baby Inks existed, before battle passes were everywhere, before the swarm of activists. It was being developed before games like even Breath of the Wild, The Witcher 3, or Cyberpunk even came out. So I do understand the idea that you could have concerns, but judging by the footage of GTA, it seems like Rockstar is instead going all in on its visual fidelity and building a framework for its future. Obviously, previous GTA games all sold like crazy. GTA 5 is one of the highest selling games of all time. San Andreas did gangbusters too. So the idea that GTA 6 could not incentivize people, I guess, to buy it is frankly kind of insane to me. That the game could honestly charge any price that it wants. On hype alone, people will justify that purchase no matter what to avoid FOMO either way. Chris Tapsell then makes an argument that GTA has in fact been outdated for a really long time now. It's a lengthy paragraph, but let me read you what he said. Chris says, "On the surface at least, there's good reason to believe it will be. GTA 5 was in some ways already behind the times. Its tale of masculine listlessness and false American dreams that arrived in 2013 really a reaction to the financial crisis of 2008. The things you do in that game had hardly evolved since GTA 4. In fact, really, they have hardly evolved since GTA 3. You drive from A to B and watch cutscenes of assorted mobsters, weirdos, livers on the fringe, and then you chase another vehicle and or do some shooting. Those tasks existed within a massive for the time open world which had some optional side activities and a wonderful systematic twist that turned it into a playground. GTA 5 was far more an expansion than an evolution. You can do more things, but they still all exist within the same basic structure. The shape of the game is the same, only enlarged. I remember a defining point of awe at the time of GTA 5's launch being the fact that you could, if you liked, just go and play some tennis." Interesting way of looking at it. Again, this is all in his claim that GTA 6 really shouldn't be garnering, honestly, the hype or the buying power that Rockstar thinks they have. But I will agree with Chris on some things, I will admit. Firstly, I do think that Rockstar's game design is outdated. I mean, Nakey Jakey did a whole video on that years ago already, as seen here, where he goes over all of Rockstar's games, and how he believes that the mission framework of their games are surprisingly shallow and straightforward, while the game outside of the mission is where the actual real creativity lies. Because you're not able to walk outside of the mission's bounds of any given mission within Rockstar's games, because if you do try to do that, you get a game over screen. Personally, I don't have an issue with that myself most of the time, because it would break the logic of the plot at that given moment. If, say, you just ran away from a car you're supposed to be chasing, and then you went and go sat in a building, it just wouldn't make any sense. But I do agree that for a series so hell-bent on, say, realism being something that matters to them, especially, for example, in Red Dead Redemption 2, like, my god, that game might as well be a real-world life simulator with how everything works. That the real-life sim parts of those sorts of games sometimes end up leaving behind the actual purpose of why you're playing a game, which is, honestly, to have fun. This is likely why I still personally prefer Red Dead 1 over 2. I know sacrilegious to some, but it's mostly because I like John Marston a lot more, but also because the real-life sim parts of Red Dead 2 were almost too real for someone like me that I couldn't really be bothered to engage with them because it honestly felt tedious. That being said, when it comes to, say, gunplay, Rockstar hasn't really evolved this either. I mean, objectively speaking, games like Call of Duty or Battlefield have much better shooting mechanics than, say, Rockstar's games. Doesn't mean that Rockstar's shooting is bad, but I mean the fact that back in the day, shooting was usually relegated to locking onto an enemy until you shot them instead of actually aiming yourself, which eventually they did allow, but it still felt weird. But like I said, I think the reason why Chris Tapsell here might be pushing against GTA 6 so heavily is because he believes that due to that game's inevitable meteoric rise and success, it's going to cause the industry to learn all the wrong behaviors, which, yeah, I do agree with that. If you frequent this channel, you'll know that I usually advocate, especially these days, that games don't need to be 100 hours long. long, with worlds that are so large that it takes you hours to walk from one end to the other. I don't think openness for the sake of openness really matters at all, and I much prefer quality over quantity. It's why I still stand by my opinion that a game like Dark Souls, as in the first one, and how it's structured is far superior to literally any open world game I've ever played. I like actual game design. I like it when the developers design the levels of their games where an enemy ambushes you at this specific moment. This is where the giant rock, swings down to crush you. This is where that dragon will swoop down over the bridge to burn you and the enemies. Like, that feels like real game design to me. Like, you're in this dungeon that requires your attention 24/7 because something could happen at any given moment. However, in most open world games, you're usually just on autopilot until you get to where you need to go, and maybe something could happen between point A and B, like a bandit jumps out or a car crashes into you or an enemy attacks you, I guess, but it's usually nothing crazy. And yes, GTA has been accused of this aplenty, like Chris said. The mission design is usually drive here while someone talks or shoot this guy, I guess. It doesn't mean that all their missions are like that, but I do believe that GTA's true strength is in its variety and systems allowing for multiple game mechanics to emerge at any given time. Like he said, you can play tennis in GTA 5. You can also be a firefighter in these games too, or you can push, let's say, CJ in San Andreas to go work out in mini games to up his stamina and strength and see his body actually get sculpted and bigger. Or you can make CJ eat lots of burgers and get really fat if you want to do that as well, I guess. I actually kind of miss the workout minigame system of San Andreas. I wish that would have showed up in these games more often because it felt like a real thing that really mattered. But I do think the big pull of GTA 6 isn't even really its story or its world or the physics or anything else. What's really important to Rockstar these days, above anything else we have to admit, is GTA Online. As we all know, while yes, the main game will make its budget back, it's the online component that will make Rockstar and Take-Two all the money going forward, and let's be real, that's what they actually care about. Because GTA Online is so lucrative, it's quite ridiculous. You can gamble in that game, play poker, blackjack, tennis, again, drive cars and races. You can do heists, there's team deathmatch, the list just goes on and on. Like, this will be GTA 6's most powerful element, mark my words. There's no way that Rockstar is going to fumble the opportunity of turning this game into a live service cash cow for years to come, or a real metaverse, if you will. But then Chris Tapsell of Eurogamer then says this, let me read it for you. In that sense then, GTA 6 doesn't have a hope. There were 2 years between San Andreas and GTA 4, 5 years between GTA 4 and GTA 5, and now 13 years as a minimum to GTA 6. The odds of it landing any successful cultural satire are stacked against it. Culture these days, if anything, seems to be accelerating, not only changing over time, but changing faster as that time goes by, juiced up by the refracting, self-referring impact of social media and increasingly digitized life. While the shape of open world design has surely dramatically moved forward since development on GTA 6 started in earnest. I understand where he's coming from, but I still don't think that this will outdate GTA 6 upon release. It's pretty obvious that the reason why it's taken so long is because Rockstar, like I said, wants to build that foundation as rock solid as humanly possible, but also that extra time spent was to add in references probably and stuff referring to new social media norms or slang terms. Like, I don't know, things like fam or that's fire or whatever the kids say these days. I have no idea, man. I'm not 15 years old. But Chris said more as seen here. I won't read it, but I'll paraphrase it. Basically, he believes that games like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild actually revolutionized open world games because the developers actually gave you the tools that could change how you interact with the world in a unique way. But that the majority of Western open world games have been following the same trends as Skyrim and many others before it, which technically he is right here. I've been saying that also for a while now, that Bethesda's game design is also outdated, and I think once Starfield dropped, people's eyes finally opened that, wow, this company really hasn't evolved anything they've done for a long time, have they? And what Rockstar does on the flip side is they focus more so on the visuals and the physics and the performance than true gameplay innovation. Now, you could argue that the things they focus on are not as important, but regardless, because of what they focus on, their games' worlds both objectively live for far longer than other games on the market, while also continuously being the best sellers years upon years after release. As seen here, also from Eurogamer, Red Dead Redemption 2 recently has now been crowned the highest selling game of the past 7 years, and it's not even remotely close. The open world cowboy game has now sold 79 million units since 2018, which was confirmed by Take-Two. This now means that Red Dead 2 has defeated Mario Kart 8 and has now secured the 4th highest selling game of all time officially now. And by the way, Minecraft's number 1, GTA 5 is 2, Wii Sports is 3, and yeah, now Red Dead 2 is 4th. It's insane how evergreen Red Dead 2 has been for Take-Two, but regardless, it just keeps selling, which pretty much proves the point. And I mean, go look at that game. You can go on any YouTube channel that plays Rockstar games like Red Dead 2, and you'll find thousands of people commenting on how beautiful the game looks and how immersive it is as an experience. So while sure, Eurogamer might think that Rockstar's over-reliance on graphical fidelity and whatnot might not matter to what they want in a game, clearly, the numbers and the sales, those are telling a different story. That people actually love it when games look incredible, because it is, I guess, convincing them that the better a game looks, that somehow more so justifies the asking price. Now, I don't agree with that myself, but that's what it seems to be the case for many, obviously. But Tech4Gamers also reported recently here that GTA 6 is content complete already, and that the last year of development is only going to be spent making sure that the game runs as perfectly as humanly possible. According to to the insider they claim in the article, Rockstar refuses to release the game unless it is perfect and runs 100% out of the gate because they want to avoid a cyberpunk situation. That insider, by the way, was revealed to be Tom Henderson of Insider Gaming, which was confirmed via this post here, where Tom said that Rockstar refuses to release the game unless it's like 100% polished to a shine before release, and that makes sense to me. Although I do find it interesting how whenever people talk about Rockstar's games, it's never really about the gameplay. It's almost as if the actual gameplay is like an afterthought to the world around it. And while Eurogamer tries their best to dissuade you from thinking about maybe buying GTA 6 because they think it's nothing special, the reality will of course starkly be different. The fact of the matter is that GTA 6 is going to do gangbusters no matter what happens to it, even if it's broken at launch, which is seemingly unlikely right now. It will still make billions regardless. What is interesting is that following this massive delay by Rockstar, Take-Two's stock actually went down by $3.2 billion, which does sound terrible at first, and technically speaking, if you take the financials down, this means that every single day, now that Rockstar doesn't release GTA 6, they are actually losing somewhere around $17 to $20 million in value every single day. Again, that sounds terrible in the short term, I know. However, the reasoning is that Rockstar genuinely believes that they can afford to lose those millions, or I guess billions right now, for their parent company Take-Two in the short term, but it's for a good reason. Because they know and believe that once GTA 6 officially drops on the world, it will make back all that money and then some within just 24 hours. And based on the hype for the game, I'm going to have to agree with them, because from what I've read online, GTA 6 has a multi-billion-dollar release window right now, so whatever they do, they will immediately become the highest entertainment product launch of all time either way. But again, I do think what GTA 6 represents is more so the exact opposite of what games need to be these days, because obviously not every publisher or development studio can afford to wait 13 years to release one single game. Most companies would go under long before then, yet players will reward this relationship with Rockstar because it makes them money. I was actually told by a source months back that GTA's new release window was going to be fall 2026, but they said if GTA 6 does change its release window again, it will only be for one single reason, which is to delay it again to launch day one with the PlayStation 6 as a release game to capitalize on those sales and boost Sony's next generation. But I don't think that Rockstar can maybe wait anymore to reach that possibility. If you ask me, I think this November 19th date is here to stay if I had to guess. Because if their next plan is a delay to the PS6 launch, that would likely be another year, because there's reports that the PS6 could launch in 2027, which would be the usual time frame for when Sony does do a console refresh, since PS4 was 2013, PS5 2020. That was also 7 years, so it would track. Either way, that was what my source told me about that, but it would be a smart move though, because Sony would absolutely then sell millions of more consoles from faithful fans who would want to enjoy GTA 6 at its greatest performance and fidelity day one. Like, that's obvious, but I think the ultimate endgame will be that GTA 6 will release on PS5 next year. Then 2027 will happen, and maybe Rockstar announces an upgraded version of the game for PS6 that expands its graphical quality even further, like they did with GTA 5. And I can already hear the people rolling their eyes, gee, an update that fast? But let's be real, guys, people will buy that. Hell, they could announce a Red Dead Redemption 2 remaster for PS5 right now, like today, and we all know that it would sell at least 1 million copies in 24 hours easily. People just love the Rockstar games. It is what it is. I don't think what Chris Tapsell of Eurogamer is saying is likely going to push people to skip out on GTA 6 either way, though. The game is simply too relevant, powerful, and big to avoid, but what GTA 6's new release date makes me wonder is, well, what's going to happen to everyone else? Call of Duty always releases either in late October or November. GTA comes out when it usually does. That could complicate things. And what about the other big releases that we know of so far? Sony has Wolverine on the way for late 2026. Are they going to delay that game now too? I mean, sure, Wolverine will probably sell, but if you release that around GTA 6's orbit, you're cooked no matter who you are. Remember how the industry responded to when Silksong got dropped and everyone around it suffered? GTA 6 is going to be like that, but a million times worse for anything not named Grand Theft Auto. Eurogamer does continue with this, which I'll put on screen, but to paraphrase again, they think the majority of games are not innovating enough either. And they believe that the vast majority of Western games have only evolved to the point to have yellow paint showing you where to go, or wind that pushes you towards your objective, like in Ghost of Tsushima or Yote. But I think the implementation of, say, paint to show where to go, things like that have been used forever. But I also think Eurogamer is asking for these games to become something that they're not too. Of course, later on, they do praise some games for changing things, as seen here, like Breath of the Wild, again with its puzzle and physics design, or Dragon's Dogma 2 with its pawn system, which isn't new. It existed in Dragon's Dogma 1, but alright. And then Elden Ring as well, I guess, evolved the formula. But like I said before, I still personally enjoy Dark Souls over Elden Ring any given day of the week. But Eurogamer then says this: but is that what we think of when we think of the modern open world? Is that what's being made en masse by what remains of the AAA old guard? I would argue it's more of a branch of it, a healthy one, no doubt, but one sprouting off in a certain direction away from the main stem, offering only the occasional brilliant flower. I see where Eurogamer is coming from. Unfortunately, the vast majority of AAA is refusing to take risks because the very business of making AAA games is so expensive that said risks usually cannot be taken. It's why a lot of these AAA games don't really win awards as much either these days. It's always the indie or smaller games in general, AA, I guess you would call it if you want to quantify it, and if a AAA does win, it's something that's an anomaly, right? Baldur's Gate 3, I guess, or Elden Ring even. But GTA 6 cannot change the formula, because if they do, they would risk alienating alienating its monolithic-sized fan base. It's like Call of Duty. Sure, you can add things, but it needs to be Call of Duty at the end of the day. Is that boring in a sense? Maybe. It depends on who you ask. But it is sadly the reality no matter what you do. It's why I always say if you want unique, interesting games, you literally have to play anything that isn't AAA these days, and especially that which is pretty much made in the West. Eurogamer then makes the argument that GTA 6 is by definition unable to evolve pretty much on principle alone, but here's what they said. Instead, the defining trait of the open world game in the past 12 years has been, if anything, their stout resistance to any real revolution. In fact, in many ways, it's the lack of lessons taken from games like Breath of the Wild that makes them what they are. Hence that brief wave of gliders, for instance, or the climb anything approach of Horizon Forbidden West, a nice touch, but one that sits within the absolute anti-Breath of the Wild. A game entirely built on the developer actively teaching, guiding, explaining, being visible at all times, but nothing beyond Elden Ring going truly systemic or truly hands-off. But I will admit this next part is very nuanced and, dare I say, good gaming journalism, but here's what he said. One prevailing thought through all of this is that these games are put on pedestals without justification, that they never have been revolutionary. At least since GTA 3's first true take on the still modern open world. The reality is that's kind of secondary. They're on a pedestal because of how well they sell. You make this much money in a medium like video games, you become this incomprehensibly big, 220 million units sold big, that's GTA 5 by the way, and you start to create your own force of gravity. Executives at publicly traded companies start getting questions about whether you're doing what GTA's doing, and if not, why not? And then it cascades. Game directors and producers start getting asked those questions, then quest designers and narrative designers and the rest. A large chunk of the games industry will simply make GTA again whatever GTA 6 is because GTA makes an unbelievable amount of money. I have to admit, Eurogamer is right here. It's why I don't personally like where AAA has been going for a while now. It's no longer really about innovation. It's all about the highest sales, the biggest bundles that are available, and ensuring that you have the budget to get celebrities and influencers to push your game. Does it mean that every AAA game is bad or like this? No, but does it mean that you're likely already have played something like GTA 6 if you played GTA 5 or 4 or San Andreas? I mean, yeah, probably. But like I proved with Red Dead 2, despite that game being overwhelmingly a life simulator to a detriment in my opinion, it still sold like crazy regardless, mostly because of its graphics and how it offers an experience that is unrivaled in what it's offering. I do think this race of we gotta sell the most or be the biggest has been a net negative for the industry. It's why some games have seen are flops despite selling millions of copies. Because sure, you sold millions, but why didn't you sell like GTA did? And money being spent does not mean the game being made will be good, because Take-Two's big release this year was Borderlands 4. And while it didn't flop per se, it did cost $300 million plus to make, which is double what Borderlands 3 costed. Yet despite this, as Insider Gaming reported here, Borderlands 4 is not sold as much as Borderlands 3, officially confirmed by the way by Take-Two themselves. Strauss Zelnick, that's the CEO of Take-Two, which runs Rockstar and Gearbox, spoke to thegamebusiness.com. Here's what he said about Borderlands 4 sales. The critical acclaim for Borderlands 4 was superb and we're really happy with the release. Equally, as you know, there were some challenges with the Steam release. In terms of units sold out of the gate, the numbers were a little softer than we would have liked. In the fullness of time, we think it's going to do great. This actually supports what Eurogamer has been saying, which is that bigger and more expensive is not always better, and I agree, although Borderlands 4 was ultimately upended by Randy Pitchford. That's the Gearbox CEO refusing to stop voicing his opinions online, and again, a terrible Steam launch where the majority of the copies were sold, by the way, for that game. And clearly, after seeing Borderlands 4 basically, let's be real, flop, and I wouldn't be surprised by layoffs at Gearbox in the future, Zelnick and the rest of Take-Two do not want a repeat of that when it comes to GTA 6, and I keep telling people, you need to rein in your employees, even the CEOs, with what they can say these days, because words matter, and they can affect the outcome of games no matter how big they think they are. If Borderlands 4, the second highest selling first-person shooter franchise of all time, only beaten by Call of Duty, by the way, can fail, yeah, everything can fail then. And I'll end this very long video already with that Eurogamer thing that says this at the very end, which reads, and that in a way is its own answer to the question of how up-to-date a new Grand Theft Auto game might feel as far forward as late 2026. So much of modern video games can be traced back to Grand Theft Auto, and so many future games will fall into its gravitational pull. That GTA 6 is almost by definition never going to be outdated in comparison. It needed to be a design revolution or whatever follows GTA Online. It can just be more of the same, executed to an even higher standard of attentiveness, human observation, and possible detail. It will send trends by virtue of success, by virtue of the nature of open world games and this series' pre-existing unwavering influence, by virtue of video games' increasingly mature status as a medium that leads it to iterate and tinker rather than revolutionize, and by virtue of the rest of the industry's financial requirement to play it safe. Whatever kind of world GTA 6 turns out to be, the mainstream gaming world is only ever going to follow its lead, and that's what will happen. It will sell millions, it will make billions, and likely the entire industry will learn all the wrong lessons from GTA 6's release. That being said, trying to dissuade people not to buy it will not work, because again, like Eurogamer said, its pull is just too strong, and just like Red Dead 2, I can easily see GTA 6 selling for years and the millions for years to come. Let's just hope that the industry learns the right lessons here, instead of thinking that everything they make can be like GTA 6 when it most certainly cannot. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. It's a lot, I know, but I do hope the industry doesn't try to replicate the absolute chaos that was spent to make something like Grand Theft Auto 6 in the first place. But knowing this industry, they will probably instead just learn all the wrong lessons like they usually do. But thanks for watching, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.